Dear reader, some stories find us when we need them most. This one came to me through a librarian in Riverside who insisted I listen to an old woman named Eleanor before it was too late. What Eleanor told me changed how I understand family, forgiveness, and the debts we never know we owe. The young woman at the center of this tale, Rosalind, reminded me that sometimes being cast out is the only way to find where we truly belong. Her father, if we can call him that, Mr. Walter Moore, shows us how grief can twist love into something unrecognizable, and how pride can blind us to the very salvation standing before us. This is a story about inherited pain and unexpected inheritance, about libraries that shelter more than books, and about choosing to heal when revenge would be easier. Most of all, it's about the mathematics of mercy, how one act of grace can multiply through generations. Listen carefully. The numbers matter. E. The red book weighed nothing in Rosalind's hands, but Eleanor's words made it feel like holding a stone. Lillian Moore came here pregnant. Before the cancer, the blind woman's fingers traced the table's wood grain, finding patterns Rosalind couldn't see. Reading baby names for a daughter, Iris, Violet, Rose, flower names for a girl who'd never bloom. Rosalind had been working at Riverside Library for 3 weeks, 3 weeks of $12 an hour, reshelving returns and learning the rhythms of the 5 elderly patrons who treated this place like their living room. She'd never expected to hear her adoptive mother's name, a woman who died before Walter Moore pulled her from the state orphanage 10 years ago. You knew her. Rosalind kept her voice steady, but her hands betrayed her, fingers unconsciously tapping prime numbers against the book's spine to 35711. Knew, know, knowing. Eleanor's clouded eyes turned toward the window, seeing something beyond sight. Time's just grammar to people like us. She sat right where you're sitting. 3rd table from the door, 2nd chair, always the same spot. The library's afternoon light slanted through dirty windows, catching dust motes that swirled like snow. Thomas wheezed in his Horner, oxygen tank hissing its mechanical rhythm. Harold arranged cookies on a paper plate, perfect circles within circles. Marion hadn't come today, no rain, but her empty chair seemed to hold space for her anyway. Why are you telling me this? Eleanor's laugh came out sharp, like glass breaking. Because Walter's about to lose everything, and he doesn't know you're his safety net. Walter kicked me out 3 weeks ago, accused me of, I know what he accused you of, the whole business community knows, corporate espionage, leaked quarterly projections, stock manipulation. Eleanor's fingers stopped moving. $40 million in market value, gone overnight. Rosalind stood abruptly, the chair scraping against worn linoleum. I didn't. Sit down, girl. The command in Eleanor's voice held surprising force. Rosalind sat. I'm not interested in what you didn't do. I'm interested in what Lillian did before she died, when she knew Walter would need saving from himself. Eleanor reached across the table, her hand defining Rosalind's with uncanny precision. She made arrangements. Smart woman, terrible circumstances, to set up a trust before Walter knew about the diagnosis. A trust bought worthless swampland out east, everyone laughed. 12 acres of flood-prone nothing. Except she knew about the highway expansion. State documents are public record if you know where to look. And Lillian knew where to look. Thomas's oxygen tank beeped, needing adjustment. Harold stood to help him. The routine practiced and wordless. The library held these small kindnesses like a container, keeping them safe from the harsh world outside. That land is now Riverside Tech Corridor, Eleanor continued. $15 million sitting in a trust, waiting for the first child Walter legally adopted after Lillian's death. The numbers rearranged themselves in Rosalind's mind. She'd been the first, the only. Walter had looked at 43 orphans before choosing her, the quiet one who solved his laptop password in 12 seconds. He doesn't know. Lillian never told him. She knew he'd refuse her help even from beyond the grave. Pride was always his particular sin. Eleanor released her hand. But there's more. The trust has a provision. If something happens to Walter, bankruptcy, death, incapacitation, everything transfers immediately to his legal heir, which is me, which is you. The library's afternoon sounds continued, the hum of ancient fluorescence, the wheeze of Thomas's breathing, the rustle of Harold's cookie tin. But underneath, Rosalind heard something else, the sound of a trap closing or opening. She couldn't tell which. "There's a lawyer," Eleanor said. "Nathan Harrison. He's been looking for you for 2 years, ever since you turned 18. He has documents, proof, everything Lillian set in motion." Why would she? Because she knew Walter would need someone to save him from himself, and she knew he'd choose someone like you, someone who counts when they're nervous, who sees patterns where others see chaos, someone who could figure out the real truth. Rosalind's phone buzzed. A text from an unknown number. "Your father's CFO, Gregory Collins, has been shorting company stock for 6 months. Check the SEC filings. Pattern recognition was always your strength." She looked up at Eleanor, who couldn't possibly have sent the text, but smiled as if she knew about it anyway. "The real question," Eleanor said, leaning back in her chair, "is what you're going to do with this information. Save the man who threw you away, or let him learn what abandonment really feels like." Before Rosalind could answer, the library door burst open. Walter Moore stood there, rain-soaked, despite the clear sky outside, holding a manila envelope that trembled in his grip. "Rosalind," his voice cracked on her name, "I know I have no right to ask, but I need your help. Gregory's gone. The money's gone. Everything's—" He stopped, seeing Eleanor. Mrs. Whitman, Eleanor's blind eyes turned toward him with perfect accuracy. "Hello, Walter? We were just discussing your wife. You remember Lillian, don't you? Or have you burned those memories too?" The envelope fell from Walter's hands, papers scattering across the library floor like white leaves, financial documents, bank statements, foreclosure notices, the mathematics of ruin spread out for everyone to see. Rosalind looked at the papers, at Walter, at Eleanor's knowing spiel. The numbers were all there, waiting to be solved, but for the first time in her life, she wasn't sure she wanted to know the answer. Thomas's oxygen tank wheezed, Harold's cookies sat untouched, Marion's empty chair waited for rain. And in the third table from the door, second chair, where Lillian Moore once sat choosing names for a daughter she'd never have, Rosalind began to understand that some inheritances have nothing to do with money. "Sit down, Mr. Moore," she said finally. "We need to talk about your wife." Walter collapsed into Marion's empty chair, and for the first time since she'd known him, Rosalind saw him cry. Not the careful, controlled tears of his wife's funeral. She'd seen the photos, but something raw and unpracticed, like numbers that don't add up no matter how many times you check your work. Eleanor reached for the red book, running her fingers along its spine until she found what she was looking for, a ridge barely perceptible where something had been hidden inside the binding. "Your wife left you a letter, Walter, but she didn't leave it for you to find. She left it for Rosalind to give to you when the time was right." She slid her fingernail along the ridge, and the binding opened like a secret door. Inside was a key, small, hard brass, ordinary-looking, except for the numbers engraved on its surface, 27828. Euler's number, the natural logarithm base, the number that defines growth. Before we continue, please leave a like and subscribe. Let me know which city you're watching from. Now, let's get back to the story. The key caught the fluorescent light. Brass surface worn smooth except for those numbers. Walter's hand trembled as he reached for it, stopped, pulled back. Safety deposit box 271828, Eleanor said. First National, downtown branch. Lillian opened it the day she got her diagnosis. Walter's fingers hovered inches from the key. A water drop fell from his hair onto the foreclosure notice, the ink bleeding in a small circle. Rosalind watched the stains spread, assets, debts, final notice, all blurring together. How do you know this? Walter's voice scraped raw. Eleanor's fingers found the book's binding again, traced the spot where the key had hidden. I was there. Helped her choose the number. She said you'd recognize it from your MIT days. Something about natural logarithms and compound interest calculations. Thomas's oxygen tank hissed, the pressure gauge needle jumping. Harold stood, checked the valve, made an adjustment. The hissing steadied. These small mechanics of survival happening while Walter's world unraveled on the library floor. Rosalind picked up the scattered papers, bank statements showing negative balances. A letter from the board of directors. Gregory Collins' name appearing, disappearing, appearing again in wire transfer records. The pattern was obvious now. Money moving in perfect intervals. Every 2 weeks. Always paused just under the reporting threshold. He's been stealing for months, she said. Walter's head jerked up. Gregory wouldn't. Transaction dates match your travel schedule. When you were in Tokyo, Singapore, Berlin? She arranged the papers chronologically on the table. He knew when you wouldn't be checking. The library door opened. Marion entered, despite the sunshine, carrying an umbrella she didn't need. She looked at Walter in her chair, at the papers, at Eleanor's serene blindness, and chose a different seat without comment. The safety deposit box, Walter said, his voice steadying. What's in it? Eleanor shrugged. Lillian didn't tell me. Said you'd understand when you saw it. Rosalind's phone buzzed. Nathan Harrison again. Meet me at First National in 1 hour. Bring Walter. Don't let him go alone. She showed the text to Eleanor, who couldn't read it but nodded anyway. Mr. Moore, Rosalind said, we should go. Walter finally took the key, closed his fist around it. The metal would be warming now, taking on his body heat. He stood, looked at Rosalind with an expression she couldn't decode. Your laptop, he said suddenly. The night of the leak. You were awake at 2:47 a.m. Rosalind's breath caught a curve. How did you? I know all your patterns. Rosalind, just like you knew mine. His eyes dropped to the brass key. The question is, whose patterns was I too blind to see? First National's marble lobby amplified every footstep. Rosalind counted her strides, 17 from the revolving door to the security desk. Walter walked 3 paces behind, the brass key hidden in his closed fist. Nathan Harrison stood by the elevators, younger than his text suggested. Pipsa, maybe 30, wire-rimmed glasses, suit off the rack but pressed sharp. He extended his hand to Walter, who didn't take it. Mr. Moore, I know who you are. Walter's jaw muscle twitched. Eleanor's been telling stories. Not stories, documents. Nathan pulled a folder from his briefcase, cream-colored paper with Lillian's law firm's letterhead. Your wife hired me 2 years before she died. Everything's been in escrow, waiting. The security guard watched them over his newspaper. Rosalind recognized the headlines, TechCrunch's expose about Moore Industries' leaked projections. Walter's face in an unflattering photograph, mouth half open, caught mid-word, vaults in the basement, Nathan said. The elevator descended with a hydraulic whine. B1, B2, B3, deeper than necessary for safety deposit boxes. The air grew colder, tasted metallic. Walter's breathing quickened short pulls of air through his nose. "Your wife was brilliant," Nathan said to the elevator doors. "The land trust, the timing, the specific provisions. She anticipated everything. She didn't anticipate dying at 34. The elevator stopped. The doors opened onto a hallway lit by humming fluorescents. One tube flickering in a pattern Rosalind couldn't help counting 3 seconds on, 1 second off. The vault door stood open. A bank employee waited, a woman with reading glasses on a chain. She checked Nathan's paperwork. Walter's eyed, nodded them through. "Box 2718228, she said, leading them past rows of identical brass fronts. "Here." She inserted her master key, waited. Walter stood frozen, the key warming in his palm. "Mr. Moore." The woman's glasses caught the light. Walter inserted the key. The mechanism clicked. Precise and final. Inside the narrow box, 3 items: a UB drive, a photograph, a single sheet of paper, folded at once. Walter picked up the photograph first. His hand shook hard enough that Rosalind could barely make out the image: Lillian in a hospital bed. Bald from chemotherapy, holding papers up to the camera, legal documents, the trust paperwork. "She knew I'd never accept help," Walter said. "Not from her, not when she was dying." Nathan cleared his throat. "The USB drive contains security footage from your office, the night of the leak." Walter set down the photograph, picked up the drive. Such a small thing, 32 gigabytes, that could hold a lifetime of evidence. How would Lillian have not Lillian? She arranged for monitoring after her death. Private investigator retained on permanent basis. She knew someone would eventually try to destroy you. She just didn't know who. The bank employee shifted weight between her feet. The fluorescent continued its pattern: 3 seconds on, 1 second off. Rosalind's fingers tapped against her thigh. 235711. Walter unfolded the paper. His face went gray, then white. He handed it to Rosalind. Lillian's handwriting, careful cursive. "Walter, if you're reading this, 2 things have happened. You've lost everything, and you've blamed the wrong person. I know you. I know how grief becomes suspicion, how loss becomes rage. The person standing next to you, whoever you chose to love after me, is not your enemy. Look closer to home. Look at who profits from your pain. The footage will show you. The trust will save you. But only if you can do what you've never done. Forgive yourself for surviving when I didn't. Ill." Rosalind read it twice. The words shifted meaning each time, like an equation with multiple solutions. "The trust," Walter said. "Nathan, what trust?" Nathan opened his folder again. $15.7 million. The Riverside Land Development, all in Rosalind's name. As your first adopted child after Lillian's death. Walter's legs gave out. He caught himself against the deposit box wall, brass fronts cold under his palms. Rosalind has owned since her 18th birthday. 2 years ago. The fluorescent stopped flickering. The sudden steady light made everything too sharp, too real. "But there's a provision," Nathan continued. "If she chooses, she can transfer it back to you, save your company, pay your debts, make you whole again." Rosalind's phone vibrated. "Unknown number," she answered without thinking. "Hello? Rose?" Gregory Collins' voice, smooth as ever. "I'm watching the bank's security feed right now. Amazing what money can buy. You have 10 minutes to convince Walter to transfer his remaining assets to the account I'm texting you, or the real footage from that night goes public. The one showing you at his computer, timestamp 2:47 a.m., your favorite hour. The line went dead. Walter looked at her face, saw something there. Who was that? Rosalind's phone buzzed with the account number. 9 digits that could end everything. She recognized the routing code, Cayman Islands. "Gregory knows we're here," she said. Walter grabbed Rosalind's phone. The Cayman account number glowed on the screen, 9 digits that Gregory had probably memorized months ago, back when he still came to Sunday dinners and called Walter his brother. "He's been planning this," Walter said. The words came out steady, but his thumb left a condensation mark on the phone screen. The whole time, Nathan stepped between them and the security camera in the corner. "We need to move. If Gregory's watching, let him watch." Walter handed the phone back to Rosalind. "I want him to see this." He pulled out his own phone, fingers flying across the screen. The banking app opened Moore Industries' corporate account. Balance. Tore $7, everything left after the board froze the main assets. "Mr. Moore, don't—" "He was at Lillian's funeral." Walter's thumb hovered over the transfer button. "Carried her casket. Told me I was lucky to have loved her." The bank employee had disappeared, probably summoned by some silent alarm. The vault felt smaller without her presence. Just the three of them, surrounded by thousands of locked boxes containing other people's secrets. "The footage he has," Rosalind said. "It's real. I was at your computer that night." Walter's thumb didn't move. "Doing what?" "Other problems. The same kind Lillian used to solve when she couldn't sleep." Rosalind pulled up her phone's calculator app, showed him the history. "Problem 4, sum of totents. I needed your computer's processing power. You broke into my office to do math. I had keys. You gave them to me 3 years ago. Remember? After the science fair." Nathan checked his watch. 7 minutes. Walter looked at the USB drive, still in the deposit box. Such a small thing to hold truth. He picked it up, weighed it in his palm, like checking if it was real. "Gregory doesn't know about this," he said. "Lillian's footage." "How can you be sure?" "Because he would have destroyed it already." Walter pocketed the drive. "He's been in my house hundreds of times, had access to everything, except this." Rosalind's phone rang again. "Gregory." "Speaker," Walter said. She hit the button. Gregory's breathing filled the vault, quick and shallow. 5 minutes. "Rose, I see you haven't initiated the transfer." "Gregory?" Walter's voice could have frozen water. "It's over." Silence. Then a laugh, bitter as burned coffee. "Walter, should have known you'd make this harder than necessary. You always did like the dramatic gesture. Very Lillian of you." "Don't." The word cracked like a whip. "What? Say her name." "Lillian, Lillian, Lillian. She saw through me. You know. Told you not to trust me with the financials, but you didn't listen. Too busy grieving to notice your best friend bleeding you dry." Nathan held up 4 fingers. 4 minutes. "Why?" Walter asked. "Because I introduced you to her." Gregory's breathing quickened. "That party at MIT. Remember, I saw her first, but she looked past me, looked at you, always you." The fluorescent lights hummed in the silence that followed. Rosalind could hear her own heartbeat, could feel Walter's tremor through the floor where he'd planted his feet. "You destroyed my company over a woman who died 10 years ago." "I destroyed your company because you had everything and made me watch. Made me smile at board meetings while you complained about loneliness." Poor Walter, widowed with millions. "You want to know what loneliness is? It's being the best man at the wedding of the woman who should have been yours." Nathan, 3 fingers. "The money's not coming, Gregory." Then the footage goes wide. Your little orphan doing midnight mathematics on your computer. Try explaining that to the SEC. "Go ahead." Walter pulled out the USB drive. I have footage too. You at my desk. You logging into the system. You sending those files to TechCrunch. Silence. You're bluffing. Lillian knew someone would come for me eventually. She prepared for it. Walter's voice softened. She prepared for you. Specifically, there's a note in her safety deposit box about patterns, about watching the watchers. Rosalind saw it then, the muscle in Walter's neck, pulsing too fast. He was lying. The USB might have footage, might have nothing, but Gregory couldn't know. You're lying. One way to find out. Walter ended the call. The phone immediately rang again. Oh, Walter declined it. Rang again. Declined. Nathan exhaled hard. That was either brilliant or insane. Both. Walter turned to Rosalind. The 15 million. Lillian left it to you, not me. To save you. That was her plan. No. He held up Lillian's note, pointed to one line. The person standing next to you, whoever you chose to love after me, is not your enemy. She didn't leave it so you could save me. She left it so I couldn't destroy you. So I'd have to see you had power over me and choose not to use it. Force me to trust when I only knew how to suspect. Rosalind's phone buzzed. Text from Gregory. You have no idea what I have on her, what she did before you adopted her. Check your email. Walter saw her face change. What is it? She opened her email. One new message. Subject line, foster home incident, age 7. The attachment began downloading automatically. 3%, 7%, 15%, whatever it is, Walter said. It doesn't matter. 28%, Gallard, 41%. He investigated me. Her voice came out small. 63%, 79%. Rosalind. Walter took her shoulders, gentle but firm. Whatever he found, 100%. The file opened. Police report. Rosalind Moore, age 7. Arson investigation at foster home number 3. She looked up at Walter, whose face had gone very still. I need you to understand something, she said. That fire. It wasn't what the report says. Rosalind's throat constricted around the words. The police report glowed on her phone screen. Case Nature. Poop 3847. Structure fire. Point of origin. Bedroom closet. Accelerant matches from kitchen drawer. Walter's grip on her shoulders loosened but didn't release. Tell me. Foster father locked me in that closet. 3 days. I kept count. 71 hours. 14 minutes. Her fingers tapped the sequence against her leg. The matches were already there. Box of Ohio blue tips. He used them for his cigarettes. Nathan shifted his weight. Leather shoes creaking against the vault's polished floor. The sound echoed off the safety deposit boxes like a tiny alarm. I lit one match, just one, to see. Rosalind pulled up the second page of the report. The carpet caught, old polyester, installed in the 70s. Went up like... She stopped. No comparisons. Just facts. 7 seconds from match to wall. Walter's hands dropped. He stepped back, studying her face. You were 7. I knew what fire did. I wanted it to do it. The phone rang. Gregory again. This time Nathan answered, held it away from his ear so they could all hear. Touching story time. Let me add some context. Gregory's voice had lost its smooth edge. Page 3, that report. Read it. Rosalind scrolled. Her breath caught. 2 children didn't make it out. Gregory continued. Sarah Chen, age 5. Michael Reeves, age 4. Smoke inhalation. The vault's air conditioning kicked on, raising goosebumps along Rosalind's arms. She remembered Sarah's laugh, high and bright. Michael's stuffed rabbit, one ear missing. That's why the Moores could adopt you, Gregory said. No other family would touch you. The fire starter, the killer. She was 7. Walter said to the phone. A child locked in a closet. Tell that to Sarah and Michael's parents. I have their contact information. Bet they'd love to know their kid's killer inherited $15 million. Nathan grabbed the phone. Extortion is a federal crime, Mr. Collins. Prove it. I'm just sharing public records with interested parties. Unless... Gregory paused. The money transfers in the next 60 seconds, or I make 3 phone calls. Media first, then the parents, then the SEC. The line went dead. Walter pulled out the USB drive from his pocket, turned it over in his palm. We need to know what's on this. There's a computer in the bank manager's office, Nathan said. But if Gregory's really watching the security feeds, he's not. Rosalind held up her phone, showing a different app, Network Monitor. I've been tracking data flow since we got here. The security system's isolated, internal feeds only. Gregory was bluffing. Walter stared at her. How long have you known? Since he called? His voice had the wrong acoustic signature for someone watching monitors. Too much ambient noise. He's in a car. They left the vault, rode the elevator up in silence. B3, B2, B1, ground floor. The bank manager's office sat behind frosted glass, empty. Nathan knocked, waited, knocked again. Emergency override, Walter suggested. That's called breaking and entering, Nathan said. Only if we break something. Rosalind pulled out her student ID, slipped it between the door and frame, applied pressure at the lock point. The mechanism clicked. Old building, old locks, simple mechanics. The office smelled like cologne and disappointment. Motivational posters covered water stains on the walls. Nathan booted up the desktop while Walter stood guard at the door. The USB loaded, one folder labeled for Walter. Inside hundreds of video files. Date stamped, organized by month. The first one, December 15th, the day after Lillian's funeral. Walter clicked play. Gregory's face filled the screen, younger, sitting at Walter's desk. He opened drawers, pulled out papers, photographed them with his phone. The timestamp read, 3:20 a.m. 10 years, Walter said. He's been stealing from me for 10 years. Rosalind clicked through more files. January 20th, Gregory accessing Walter's computer. March 20th, Gregory meeting with competitors. July 20th, Gregory copying client lists. Lillian hired someone to watch him, Nathan said, as soon as she died. No, Rosalind pointed to the video quality. These are from your office security system. Someone pulled them from your own servers. Walter leaned closer. That's impossible. Gregory had them wiped. I watched him do it. He wiped the main drives. Rosalind opened another file, but not the redundancy backup. Look at the file path. Hidden in system files, buried under 9 layers of subdirectories, archived on a partition Gregory never knew existed. Who set this up? Walter asked. Rosalind found the system log. Administrator account. Created October 1st, 2020, 2 weeks before Lillian died. Username Elmore271828. She did it herself, Rosalind said. While she was dying, she protected you. Walter's phone buzzed. Text from Gregory Times up. Sending everything now. Then another check the news. Nathan pulled up TechCrunch on his phone. Breaking story already live. More Industries insider trading scandal adopted daughter at center of conspiracy. The article included photos. Rosalind, at age 7, outside the burned foster home. Rosalind at Walter's computer, grainy but recognizable. Rosalind's sealed juvenile records, somehow unsealed. It's done, Walter said. His voice sounded hollow. He destroyed you to destroy me. Rosalind kept scrolling through Lillian's files, folder after folder of evidence. Then she found it. A video file labeled differently from the others. Pattern analysis unimportant. She clicked play. Lillian appeared on screen, bald from chemo, thin, but eyes sharp. She sat at the same desk they stood at now. "Walter," she said to the camera, "if you're watching this, I'm dead, and someone's tried to destroy you. I'm betting it's Gregory. The patterns are clear. He's been in love with me since MIT, and he hates you for having what he wanted." Walter gripped the desk edge, knuckles white. "I've documented everything. 10 years of theft, maybe more by the time you see this. But that's not why I made this video." Lillian leaned forward. "I need you to understand something about the person you'll choose after me. You'll pick someone broken, someone who needs saving. That's your pattern. But here's what you miss. Broken people don't need saving. They need someone to see them as whole, despite the cracks." The video continued, but Walter had stopped breathing normally. Short gasps through his nose, like drowning in air. "The trust I set up isn't for you. It's for them. To give them power over you. To force you to trust when you only know how to control." Lillian smiled, sad and knowing. "The fire starter. Walter, you'll choose the fire starter. And you need to let them choose whether to burn you or warm you." The video ended. Silence filled the office. Outside, bank tellers continued their afternoon routines. The world kept spinning, despite the fact that everything had just shifted. "She knew about me," Rosalind said, "before I was even in the system." "How?" Nathan pulled out another document from his folder. "Your biological parents? They were clients of Lillian's law firm. She handled their will." The room tilted. Rosalind grabbed the desk. "That's impossible. They died when I was 2. The will specified that if anything happened to them, you were to be placed in state care rather than with relatives." "They knew something. Lillian found out what? What did they know?" Nathan handed her the final page. "Your birth name wasn't Rosalind. It was Rose Chin. Your biological father's brother was married to Gregory Collins' sister. Gregory is your uncle by marriage." The math rearranged itself in Rosalind's mind. Gregory hadn't just investigated her past. He'd hidden their connection. He'd known exactly who she was when Walter adopted her. "He let Walter adopt his own niece," she said. "Why?" Walter's phone rang. "Gregory again." "Answer it," Rosalind said. "Ask him why." Walter hit speaker. "Enjoying the family reunion." Gregory's voice had gone cold, controlled. "Did Nathan tell you the best part yet?" "What best part?" Walter asked. "Check page 4 of the will, the inheritance clause." Nathan flipped pages, his face draining of color. He handed it to Rosalind. The words blurred, then sharpened. "In the event of our death, our daughter Rose Chen shall inherit the full estate upon reaching majority, held in trust by Morrison, Carver and Associates. Estimated value at maturity, $22 million. Unless what? Walter demanded. Gregory laughed. "Unless she's convicted of a felony before age 18, then everything reverts to next of kin. 3 guesses who that is?" Rosalind did the math. The fire, the deaths of Sarah and Michael. If she'd been convicted instead of just investigated. "You've been planning this for 15 years, she said to the phone. 16. Since your parents updated their will, I suggested the law firm, Lillian's firm. I knew she'd find out about you eventually. No, she'd tell Walter. I just had to wait." "You killed them." The words came out flat. "My parents." "You killed them." Silence. Then, "Prove it." The line went dead. Walter looked at Rosalind. "The fire. You were trying to burn evidence, weren't you? Even at 7, you knew something was wrong." She nodded. "There were papers in that closet, letters with Gregory's name. I couldn't read them all, but I knew they were important. And now he's trying to finish what he started. Nathan's phone buzzed. The parents? Sarah and Michael's parents, they're here. Through the frosted glass, two figures stood at the bank's entrance. The Chen family, not just any family. The other Chen family, the one that lost a daughter in a fire. The same fire where Rose Chen became Rosalind Moore. Through the frosted glass, Mrs. Chen stood perfectly still. Gray cardigan, black purse held with both hands, the same height as Sarah would have been, now 5 feet 2 inches. Mr. Chen beside her, navy suit worn at the elbows, touching his wife's shoulder every few seconds like checking she was real. They don't know, Nathan said, about the connection. Gregory must have just told them you were here. Walter moved toward the door. Rosalind grabbed his wrist, felt his pulse hammering against her fingers. I need to face them, not alone. She released him, walked to the door. The handle was warm. Nathan had been gripping it. She turned it, pulled. The door opened with a soft pneumatic wheeze. Mrs. Chen's eyes found hers immediately, brown, like Sarah's had been. The recognition hit both women simultaneously. Mrs. Chen's intake of breath sharp enough to echo in the marble lobby. You're her? Not a question. Mrs. Chen's voice carried a slight accent Mandarin underneath the English. The girl from the fire. Yes. Mr. Chen's hand tightened on his wife's shoulder. His fingernails were chewed down to the quick, some bleeding at the edges. The man on the phone said you inherited $15 million. Said you were here to claim it. Rosalind felt Walter step up behind her, close enough that his breath stirred her hair. Nathan stayed by the office door, one hand on his phone. It's more complicated than that, Rosalind said. Sarah suffocated? Mrs. Chen's purse strap twisted in her hands, leather creaking. Smoke in her lungs. They said she died reaching for the door, 4 feet away. If she'd been 2 seconds faster. I know. Do you? Mr. Chen's voice cracked. Do you know what we found in her room after? Under her pillow? A letter to Santa in March, asking him to make her big enough to reach the high shelf where I kept her music box. The bank's air conditioning hummed. A teller called next customer. Normal sounds that seemed obscene against the weight of dead children. The man who called you, Rosalind said. Gregory Collins. He's my uncle. Mrs. Chen's hands stopped moving. What? By marriage? My biological parents died when I was 2? Car accident. Gregory was supposed to get their money if anything happened to me before I turned 18. Walter pulled out his phone, showed them the will Nathan had found. Mr. Chen read it, lips moving slightly, translating internally. You're saying he... Mrs. Chen couldn't finish. The foster father who locked me in that closet was getting payments. $1,000 a month. Gregory was paying him to hurt me, to push me until I snapped. Yet Rosalind's fingers found the old cigarette burn on her wrist, perfectly round, healed, but still sensitive. The matches were planted by the accelerant on the carpet that wasn't in the official report. But it was there. Smell of kerosene under the polyester. Mr. Chen pulled out his own phone, scrolled through emails. This Gregory. He sent us documents, police reports, photos from the scene. He turned the screen toward them. Rosalind at 7, being led away from the burning house, soot on her face, eyes wide but not crying. Behind her, smoke pouring from the window of the room where Sarah and Michael died. But there's something else, Mr. Chen continued, scrolling. A second email came right after the first. New photos. Gregory at a gas station, dated the day before the fire. Security footage showing him filling a kerosene container. Another image, foster home basement. Same container visible behind the water heater. Why would he send you this? Walter asked. Mrs. Chen's phone rang. She looked at the caller ID, showed it to her husband. Unknown number. Answer it, Rosalind said. Speaker. Mrs. Chen's finger trembled as she hit the button. Are you with them? Gregory's voice, but different now. Breathing heavy, irregular. Yes. Good. I want everyone to hear this. Sound of a car engine, tires on gravel. Rose Chen should have burned in that closet. Would have been cleaner. Instead, 2 innocent kids died, and she walked away with barely a scratch. You set it up, Mr. Chen said, voice steady despite the muscle jumping in his jaw. You killed our daughter. I created circumstances. Rose lit the match. Important distinction in a court of law. Walter grabbed the phone. Where are you? Gregory? Close enough to watch the bank entrance. Close enough to see you all standing there, trying to figure out your next move. Engine sound stopped. Car door opening. Here's what happens now. Rosalind signs over the $15 million? Not to Walter, to the Chens. Compensation for their loss. Blood money for blood spilled. That money belongs to... Nathan started to a killer. Check the statute of limitations on wrongful death suits in this state. The Chens can still file. Still win. Rosalind in court, explaining the fire, the deaths. Think any jury would let her keep Lillian's fortune after hearing how 2 kids died because she wanted to see what fire did? Rosalind looked at Mrs. Chen, whose eyes hadn't left her face, reading her, measuring, calculating the weight of grief against the possibility of justice. We don't want money, Mrs. Chen said to the phone. We want our daughter back. Can't help with that, but 30% of $15 million might ease the pain. 30%. Walter caught it immediately. You're taking a cut. Finder's fee plus expenses. 16 years of waiting isn't cheap. Through the bank's glass doors, Rosalind saw movement. Black sedan, tinted windows, parked across the street. Driver's door open, but no one visible. I'll do it, she said. Everyone turned to her. I'll sign it over, all of it, to the Chens. Rosalind, no. Walter reached for her shoulder. She stepped away from his touch. Lillian left it to me. My choice what to do with it. Smart girl, Gregory said. Nathan, draw up the papers. You have 20 minutes. This is coercion, Nathan said. Legally. Legally. 2 kids are dead because of Rose Chen. Want to test that in court. Mrs. Chen set down her purse. From inside, she pulled out a small photograph, edges worn from handling. Sarah at 4, Michael at 3, sitting on Mall Santa's lap, both terrified but trying to smile. This was 3 weeks before the fire, she said to Rosalind. Michael had just learned to say please in English. The photo trembled in her hand. Rosalind reached out, steadied it with her fingertips touching Mrs. Chen's. Your daughter, Mrs. Chen said quietly. In the closet. How long before you lit the match? 71 hours, 14 minutes. You counted? I always count. It's how I stay sane. Mrs. Chen studied her face. Sarah counted too. Steps to school, flowers in the garden, stars through her window. Her voice broke. She was counting ceiling tiles when the smoke came. The fireman found tally marks on the wall. 23, that's as high as she got. The photo slipped from their joined fingers, fluttered to the marble floor. Both women reached for it simultaneously, hands colliding, and in that moment of contact, Rosalind felt it, the electric shock of shared loss. Different but equal. 2 kinds of orphaning in one fire. There's something you should know, Mrs. Chen said, so quietly only Rosalind could hear. The day before the fire, Sarah told me she had a new friend, Rose, who knew all the prime numbers, and shared her crackers at snack time. Rosalind's throat closed. She remembered those crackers, peanut butter, Sarah allergic to peanuts, so Rosalind always ate both packets. Made it look like sharing. She was my friend too, Rosalind whispered. Gregory's voice crackled through the phone. Touching moment, but clock's ticking. 15 minutes. That's when Rosalind saw it, reflection in the bank door's brass handle. Second figure in the sedan, someone in the passenger seat, head down, not moving. She looked at Walter, mouthed, "Someone else is in the car." Walter's eyes flicked to the door, back to her. He pulled out the USB drive, held it up where Gregory could see through the window. "Gregory, we have the footage, all of it. 10 years of theft. Destroy it. That's part of the deal." "First, tell us who's in the car with you." Silence. Then the passenger door opened. Eleanor stepped out, white cane in one hand, other hand clearly restrained behind her back. She moved slowly, each step measured, guided by Gregory's voice from inside the car. "Forgot to mention," Gregory said. "I stopped by the library first." Eleanor's cane tapped the pavement 3 taps. Pause. 3 taps. SOS. Her left arm hung wrong. Wrist bent at an angle that made Rosalind's stomach clench. "Broken radius," Gregory said through the phone. "Clinical. She fell down the library stairs. Tragic accident." Walter pushed past Rosalind, out the bank doors. She followed, heard Nathan telling the Chens to stay inside. The afternoon heat hit like a wall after the air-conditioned lobby. Exhaust fumes from passing traffic. Taste of metal on her tongue. Eleanor stood 20 feet away. Her white hair had come unpinned, hanging across her face. Blood on her collar, not much, but enough to turn the fabric rust brown. Her breathing came in short pulls. "Ribs probably bruised." "Eleanor," Walter called out. She turned her head toward his voice. "Don't." The word came out thick. "Wrong. He's got—" Gregory stepped out of the sedan. Suit wrinkled, tie loose, 3-day stubble. In his right hand, Eleanor's insulin kit. "Diabetic coma. Hits fast without medication," he said. "About 12 minutes at her blood sugar levels." Rosalind checked her phone. 4:40 p.m. Eleanor took insulin at 5 hours every day. Never missed. The library folks knew to remind her if she forgot. "Give her the insulin," Walter said, "after the papers are signed." Gregory guided Eleanor to the bench near the bank entrance, his hand on her good elbow. She sat hard, cane clattering on concrete. "Nathan, you should start drafting. Clock's ticking in more ways than one." Nathan appeared in the doorway, laptop under his arm. "This is kidnapping, federal crime. This is negotiation. Eleanor came willingly. Ask her." Eleanor's head dropped forward. Her fingers tapped against her thigh. Not random, Rosalind realized. Binary code. She'd taught Rosalind last month something to do when words failed. 01 HE 0101 She needs help, Rosalind said. She needs insulin, which she'll get in. Gregory checked his watch. 10 minutes, if you cooperate. The Chens emerged from the bank. Mrs. Chen still held Sarah's photo. Mr. Chen had his phone out, recording everything. "Don't," Gregory said, "unless you want to explain to the police why you're here, why you're taking money from your daughter's killer." Mr. Chen lowered the phone, but didn't stop recording. Just held it at waist level, lens still pointed at Gregory. Walter sat beside Eleanor on the bench. She leaned into him, weight settling against his shoulder. Her breathing had gone shallow, quick little sips of air. "Lillian," Eleanor whispered, not confused, purposeful. "Tell him about Lillian." "Quiet," Gregory snapped. But Eleanor continued. words slurring together. The night she died, Gregory was there. Walter doesn't know. Walter's whole body went rigid. What? Shut up. Gregory stepped forward, insulin kit swinging. 3 a.m. Eleanor continued. Lillian called me, said Gregory came to the hospital, said he needed to tell her something before. She stopped, gasping. Sweat beaded on her forehead despite the cool air. Before what? Walter's voice had gone very quiet. Gregory's face flushed red. She's confused. Diabetic delirium. No? Eleanor's good hand found Walter's. Lillian recorded it on her phone. The confession. Rosalind saw Gregory's hand tighten on the insulin kit. The plastic creaked. What confession? Eleanor's eyes rolled back, showing white. Her body started to slide off the bench. Walter caught her, lowered her to the concrete. Her pulse visible in her neck. Too fast, too weak. Insulin, Walter said. Now, papers first. Nathan was already typing, fingers flying over his laptop keyboard. 5 minutes. She doesn't have 5 minutes. Rosalind knelt beside Eleanor, checked her pulse. 140 beats per minute. Dangerous territory. Mrs. Chen stepped forward. I'm a nurse. Everyone turned to look at her. Pediatric. But I know diabetic crisis. She knelt beside Eleanor, opposite Rosalind. Professional hands checking vitals, lifting eyelids, pressing fingernails to check capillary refill. Blood sugar's probably over 4, maybe higher. She needs insulin immediately or she'll seizure. Then you better type faster, Gregory said to Nathan. Mr. Chen moved closer to his wife. Give her the medicine. After. Now. Mr. Chen's voice carried an edge Rosalind hadn't heard before. Or I tell everyone what really happened the night of the fire. Gregory froze. You don't know anything. Security footage from the foster home. My wife's cousin worked it for the company that installed it. We've had the files for 11 years. Mr. Chen pulled out his phone, swiped to a video. You entering the basement 3 hours before the fire, carrying something. On the small screen, Gregory, younger, thinner, hauling a red container through a basement door. We never pursued it, Mrs. Chen said, still checking Eleanor's vitals. Because we thought the girl Rose was guilty. But if she's your niece, you've had this for 11 years. Walter's voice broke. We wanted someone to blame, but Chenton said, the foster parents were dead. Overdose. 2 months after the fire, that left the girl. Rosalind's mind rearranged the timeline. Foster parents dead 2 months later. Gregory, cleaning up loose ends. Eleanor's breathing changed. Shallow gasps became irregular, long pauses between breaths. Cheney-Stokes pattern. Brainstem failing. She's dying. Oh, Mrs. Chen said. Gregory threw the insulin kit. It hit the concrete, skidded to Walter's feet. Mrs. Chen grabbed it, checked the vial full, unexpired. She loaded the syringe with practiced efficiency, found a spot on Eleanor's arm, injected. How long? Rosalind asked. If we're lucky, few minutes for improvement, if not. Eleanor's hand moved, slow, deliberate, pointing at Gregory. Then her fingers formed letters, sign language, which she'd taught Rosalind during quiet library afternoons. Lillianknew. Gregory saw it too. Stop her! But Eleanor continued, fingers shaking. ILLEDTHEM. Walter grabbed Gregory's shirt, yanked him forward. Killed who? Nobody. She's hallucinating. Eleanor's fingers ROSEPARENTS. The sedan's engine was still running. Gregory twisted free from Walter's grip, backed toward it. You can't prove anything. Lillian's phone, Eleanor whispered, voice stronger as the insulin worked. In the safety deposit box. Under the... Gregory lunged for the car. Walter moved to stop him, but Gregory was faster, desperate. He dove into the driver's seat, slammed it into gear. The sedan lurched forward, straight at Eleanor on the ground. Rosalind grabbed Eleanor's shoulders, pulled hard. They rolled together, concrete scraping skin. The car's tire missed Eleanor's head by inches, close enough that hot rubber smell filled Rosalind's nose. Gregory overcorrected, tires screaming. The sedan fishtailed, clipped a parked car, kept going. He made it half a block before the police siren started. Nathan had called them, still had the phone pressed to his ear, giving the dispatcher Gregory's license plate. "We need an ambulance," Mrs. Chen said. Eleanor was conscious, but gray, lips tinged blue despite the insulin. "Hospital's 3 blocks. We could carry her." "I'll drive," Mr. Chen said, already moving to their car. Walter lifted Eleanor, her weight nothing in his arms. As they moved toward the Chen's car, Eleanor's good hand found Rosalind's. "The phone," she whispered. "Lillian's phone. Still in the box. Everything's on it." They piled into the car, Walter holding Eleanor. Rosalind pressed against the door. Mrs. Chen turned backward from the front seat, monitoring Eleanor's pulse. Nathan followed in his own car. "Why didn't you tell me?" Walter asked Eleanor. 16 years. You knew everything." Eleanor's eyes found his, surprisingly clear. "Lillian made me promise. Said you'd self-destruct if you knew the truth too soon. Said to wait until—" Her eyes rolled back. Body went rigid. "She's seizing," Mrs. Chen said. "Drive faster." Mr. Chen ran the red light. Horns blared. 2 blocks to the hospital. Eleanor's body convulsed. Walter held her tight, keeping her from hitting the doors, the seats, foam at her mouth, pink with the blood where she'd bitten her tongue. "Is she dying?" Walter asked. Mrs. Chen didn't answer, which was answer enough. 1 block, emergency entrance visible. Mr. Chen drove over the curb, across the ambulance bay, stopped directly at the doors. "Get help," Mrs. Chen ordered Rosalind. Already pulling Eleanor from Walter's arms, Rosalind ran, burst through the emergency doors. "We need help. Diabetic seizure. She's—" The triage nurse was already moving, calling for a gurney. 2 orderlies appeared, then a doctor, young, focused. They transferred Eleanor from the car to the gurney in seconds, a choreographed dance of urgency. "How long since insulin cure?" the doctor asked. 6 minutes, Mrs. Chen said, "but she's seized anyway. Blood sugar was probably—" "Got it!" They disappeared through double doors, Eleanor's white hair the last thing visible before they swung shut. Walter stood in the ambulance bay, blood on his shirt from Eleanor's bitten tongue. He looked at Rosalind. "Lillian's phone," he said. "We need to get back to the bank. Gregory might circle back. Let him—" Walter's expression had changed. The grief was still there, but under it, something harder. "I want him to—" Sirens approaching, not ambulance police. Nathan appeared from the parking area, laptop still under his arm. "They caught him," he said. "Crashed into a streetlight 6 blocks away. He's in custody." "Alive?" Rosalind asked. "Unfortunately." Through the emergency room windows, Rosalind could see the trauma team working on Eleanor. TPR compressions, the rhythmic pump of life being forced back into a failing body. Mrs. Chen touched Rosalind's arm. "She knew my Sarah." "What?" "Eleanor. She just told me. Sarah came to library story time every Tuesday. Eleanor read to her." Mrs. Chen's voice cracked. She said Sarah's favorite was about a rabbit who counted stars. The CPR continued. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 15 compressions, 2 breaths. "Repeat." "She's not going to make it," Mr. Chen said quietly. Walter turned on him. "Don't. I've seen enough death to know." The trauma room erupted in movement, different kind. Not the organized rhythm of CPR, but something else. The doctor's hands moving fast, calling for medications Rosalind couldn't hear through the glass. Then Eleanor's hand moved. Just a twitch, but movement. She's back, Mrs. Chen breathed. But the doctor's face told a different story. He looked through the window, found Walter's eyes, shook his head slightly. Not, she's back. She's leaving. The trauma room doors opened. The young doctor emerged, latex gloves spotted with blood. He pulled them off, dropped them in the biohazard bin. The sound echoed into the sudden quiet of the emergency bay. She's stable. For now. He looked at Walter. Your family? Yes. The lie came so easily that Rosalind almost believed it herself. She's had a massive diabetic crisis, complicated by trauma. The seizure caused some bleeding in the brain. Minor, but... He paused, choosing words. She's asking for you. She's lucid. But we don't know for how long. They followed him through the double doors. Antiseptic smell sharp enough to burn. Heart monitors beeping out of sync from different rooms. Someone is behind curtain 3. Eleanor lay propped up in bed 12. Oxygen mask fogging with each breath. Her eyes tracked their movement, alert despite the gray pallor of her skin. Can't kill a librarian, she whispered through the mask. We're too stubborn. Walter took her good hand. The broken wrist had been splinted, fingers purple with bruising. Don't talk, Mrs. Chen said. Save your strength. Eleanor pulled down the oxygen mask. No time. She looked at Rosalind. The phone? Bottom of the safety deposit box, under the felt lining. Lillian glued it there. We'll get it, Walter said. Now, before Gregory's lawyer thinks to look for it. Eleanor's grip tightened on Walter's hand. Password is the date she told you about the cancer. Month, day, year. October 7th, 10:07:15. Eleanor's eyes drifted closed, opened again with the effort. There's a recording. Duh, from the night she died. Gregory confessed everything. A nurse entered, checked the monitors. Blood pressure's dropping. She needs rest. 2 minutes, Eleanor said. Not a request. The nurse looked at the monitors again, nodded, left. Rosalind, Eleanor turned toward her voice. The fire, your parents. Gregory planned all of it. Lillian knew but couldn't prove it until that last night. What did he confess? Your parents' car? He tampered with the brakes? Made it look like mechanical failure? Eleanor's breathing grew labored. The foster home placement, he bribed the social worker, specifically chose that family because the father had a record of violence. Walter's face had gone white. He orchestrated everything. 16 years of planning, all for money. Eleanor coughed, specks of blood on her lips. But Lillian was a smarter. She investigated him for 10 years, found everything. The heart monitor's rhythm changed, faster, irregular. The insulin, Eleanor continued, words running together. He diluted it. That's why it didn't work right. He wanted me to die slowly. Make you watch. Mrs. Chen checked the IV bag, sniffed the port. She's right. This isn't pure insulin. Maybe 60% concentration? Call the nurse, Mr. Chen said, but his wife was already moving. Eleanor pulled Rosalind closer with surprising strength. The 15 million, don't give it to them. She meant the Chens. They don't want blood money, they want their daughter back. Can't buy that. Then what do I do with it? What Lillian wanted. Save Walter, save yourself, save everyone Gregory hurt. Her eyes found Walter. The company. He's been shorting it for 3 years. The leaked documents were just the final blow. Check the trading records, all in his wife's name. Gregory's divorced. No, separated, never filed papers. She gets everything if he's convicted. Eleanor smiled, bloody teeth. Unless you file a civil suit first. Fraud, theft, attempted murder. The nurse returned with a doctor-different one, older. He took one look at the monitors and started barking orders. The room filled with people. Someone wheeled in a crash cart. Out, the doctor said. Now. They were pushed into the hallway. Through the door's window, Rosalind watched the medical team work. Eleanor's eyes stayed open, fixed on the ceiling, lips moving, counting, maybe, or praying. Hard to tell the difference sometimes. Nathan appeared, breathless. Police want statements. Gregory's refusing to talk without a lawyer. We need the phone first, Walter said, before his lawyer already taken care of. Nathan held up a court order. Emergency warrant. Banks opened the vault for us. They left the Chens at the hospital. Mrs. Chen refused to leave until she knew Eleanor was stable. Mr. Chen sat with her, still holding the photo of Sarah and Michael. The drive back to the bank took 12 minutes. Rosalind counted every second. The safety deposit vault felt smaller the second time, air thicker. Nathan had inserted the key. Open box 271828. Walter lifted the felt bottom. Underneath an iPhone, model at least 10 years old, charging cable wrapped around it. Battery's probably dead, Nathan said. But when Walter pressed the power button, it lit up. 15% charge. Lillian must have paid for the box to have power access. Kept it plugged in all these years. The password screen appeared. Walter typed 1075. The phone unlocked. One app was open. Voice memos, 17 recordings. The last one dated November 3rd, 2000, 3 days before Lillian died. Walter hit play. Lillian's voice filled the vault, weak but clear. Gregory, you came. You texted. Said it was important. Sit. Sound of chair scraping. Hospital sounds in background monitors. Distant announcements. I know about Rose Chen. Silence. Then, I don't know what. Stop. Just stop. I have the records. Your payments to the foster family. The brake line purchase 3 days before her parents died. The storage unit you rented to hide their car after you tampered with it. You're delirious. The medications. I'm dying. Gregory, not stupid. Coughing fit. When she spoke again, her voice was weaker. You killed them for money. They were going to write me out of the will. My own sister said I was unstable. Because you are, I needed that money. You don't understand what it's like. Watching Walter succeed. Watching everyone succeed while you what? Work a steady job, have a normal life. Normal? Gregory's laugh was bitter. You want to know normal? Normal is loving someone for 15 years who never sees you. Normal is being best man at their wedding. Normal is holding their hand while they die and knowing their husband should be grateful. Pause. Lillian's breathing, audible, labored. You love me. Not a question. Loved, past tense. You're dying, and you killed 2 innocent people because of it. I killed them because $22 million would have made us equal. Walter and me, finally equal. Rose was 2 years old. Rose was collateral damage, like those kids in the fire. You admit you caused the fire. I created circumstances. The girl lit the match. A 7-year-old locked in a closet for 3 days. Details. More coughing. Machines beeping faster. I've recorded everything, Lillian said. This conversation. The evidence, it's all documented. Where? Somewhere you'll never find it, but Walter will, when the time is right. Sound of movement, chair falling over. Where is it? Lillian, get out. Tell me where. Nurse. Footsteps running. Multiple voices. Gregory saying, I was just leaving. Door closing. Then Lillian whispered, Walter, baby, when you hear this, forgive me. I should have told you sooner. But you would have killed him, gone to prison. And then where would Rose be? She needs you. You need her. You're going to save each other. The recording ended. Walter stood perfectly still, phone in his hand like something that might explode. 17 recordings, Nathan said. We should hear them all. No. Walter pocketed the phone. Police first, evidence chain of custody. They drove to the precinct in silence. Rosalind watched Walter's reflection in the window, jaw clenched, pulse visible in his temple, hands gripping the door handle hard enough to leave marks. Detective Sarah Williams took their statements separately. Rosalind went first, laid out the timeline. 16 years condensed into 40 minutes of facts. When she mentioned the fire, the detective's expression shifted. The Chen fire. I worked that case. She pulled up old files on her computer. Always thought something was off. Foster parents die 2 months later. Too convenient. Gregory killed them too, probably. But proving it now, she shrugged. He was smart, used other people as weapons. The foster father, the social workers, even you. I lit the match, but you were 7, locked in a closet. The detective leaned forward. You were the weapon, not the killer. Walter's interview lasted 2 hours. He came out looking older, skin gray under the fluorescent lights. Nathan went last, providing the legal framework: fraud, embezzlement, attempted murder, conspiracy. We've got enough to hold him, Detective Williams said. But his lawyer's already here, Marcus Webb. Rosalind recognized the name. Top defense attorney in the state. $1,000 an hour. Gregory can't afford him, Walter said. His wife can. Turns out she's been getting payments from an offshore account for 3 years. $50,000 a month. That's my money, Walter said, from the company accounts. Prove it. Nathan pulled out his laptop. Give me 10 minutes. But they didn't have 10 minutes. Marcus Webb appeared in the doorway. Expensive suit, expensive smile. My client wishes to make a statement. Detective Williams stood. He's invoked his right to counsel. No statements without. He's waiving that right for this specific matter. Webb handed her a document. He wants to speak to Ms. Moore. Rosalind Moore. Alone. Absolutely not, Walter said. 5 minutes, Webb said. Supervised, through glass. It's regarding the inheritance. Rosalind looked at Walter, at Nathan, at the detective. I'll do it. They led her to the interview room. Gregory sat behind reinforced glass, hands cuffed to the table. His face had swollen where the airbag hit during the crash, left eye blood red from burst vessels. He smiled when he saw her. Hello? Rose? She sat down, picked up the phone. He did the same. You look like your mother, he said. Same eyes. She had that same way of counting when she was nervous. Fingers tapping. Rosalind's hand stilled. I was there when you were born. Held you before your father did. You grabbed my finger. So small, perfect. Then you killed them. 18 months later. Yes, no emotion in his voice, like discussing weather. Your mother figured out I'd been skimming from her trust fund. Confronted me, said she'd go to the police. So you cut their brake lines. Brake fluid reservoir. Small puncture, slow leak. Takes about 50 miles to fully empty. They made it 48. The guard tapped his watch. 3 minutes left. Why tell me? Gregory leaned forward, chain rattling. Because I want you to know the truth, but you're not Rosalind Moore. Walter's charity case. You're not even Rose Chen, orphan. You're the culmination of 16 years of planning, my masterpiece. I'm a person. You're $22 million in a biological wrapper. Everything about you was designed. Your trauma, your talents, your need to be saved. I created you. Lillian saved me. Here she is. His face darkened. Lillian's dead. Her plan isn't the 15 million. Take it. I don't care anymore. He leaned back. But know this, every dollar you spend comes from blood, your parents' blood, those children's blood, Eleanor's blood if she dies. You'll never be clean of it. The guard stepped forward. Time up. Gregory smiled again. Oh, one more thing. Check your credit report and your Social Security records and your birth certificate, the real ones. The phone went dead. The guard led Gregory away, but his smile remained, reflected in the glass like a ghost. Rosalind returned to the waiting room. Walter stood immediately, read her face. What did he say? She pulled out her phone, logged into the credit monitoring app she never used. Her report loaded. Name Rose Chen Gregory, not Rose Chen. Rose Chen Gregory. He'd given her his name, claimed her from birth. She showed Walter the screen. His face went very still. He made me his daughter. The courthouse documents spread across Nathan's conference table like a map of deception. Birth certificate, Rose Chen Gregory. Father listed as Gregory Collins, falsified 3 days after her real parents died. Adoption records. Gregory surrendering parental rights to the state. Social Security issued under his name, later amended. He can't have done this legally, Walter said, fingers tracing the paper trail. He didn't. Nathan pulled up another screen, but he had help. Child Services Supervisor, Records Clerk, Family Court Judge, all received payments through the same offshore network. How much did it cost him to steal my life? Rosalind asked. About $300,000 over 2 years. She laughed, sharp, hollow. 16 years of planning, $300,000. 2 dead parents, 2 dead children, all for $22 million that doesn't even exist anymore. What do you mean? Nathan turned his laptop toward them. The trust. Your parents' trust. I've been tracking it. The investment firm collapsed in 2008. Total loss. Walter leaned forward. Gregory did all this for nothing. He didn't know. The firm kept sending fake statements until 2015. By then, he'd already killed them. Nathan pulled up the firm's fraud conviction, Ponzi scheme, hundreds of victims. Rosalind's phone buzzed. Hospital number. Eleanor's awake. Mrs. Chen's voice. Asking for you. The drive to the hospital took 15 minutes. Rosalind counted delivery trucks, 7, counted red lights, 4, counted the beats between Walter's breathing, 3, sometimes 4 when he was thinking hard. Eleanor had been moved to a regular room. No more machines. Just an IV drip and the steady beep of a heart monitor. Her color was better, though her left arm remained immobilized. Took you long enough, she said when they entered. Thomas sat in the corner chair, oxygen tank at his feet. Harold had brought cookies, arranged on the bedside table. Marion stood by the window, no rain, but she'd come anyway. The library crew insisted on visiting, Eleanor said. Apparently, I'm not allowed to die without permission. We voted, Thomas wheezed. Unanimous no. Walter pulled a chair close to Eleanor's bed. Gregory confessed. To everything. I know. Felt it. Eleanor tapped her temple. Some things you know without being told. He made Rosalind his daughter, legally, on paper. Eleanor turned toward Rosalind. Paper doesn't make family. Choice does. Tell that to the inheritance lawyers, Nathan said from the doorway. If she's legally his daughter, she might have claim to his assets. I don't want anything from him. But you could take everything. Eleanor's blind eyes somehow found hers. His house, his accounts, his entire life's work. And do what with it? Eleanor smiled. What Lillian would do. Transform poison into medicine. Walter's phone rang. Detective Williams. Gregory's being transferred to federal custody. The FBI found more. 12 other families over 20 years. Same pattern, inheritance theft through orchestrated tragedies. 12 others. Walter put the phone on speaker. House fires, car accidents, drug overdoses, all beneficiaries of large trusts. All had children who mysteriously died or disappeared before inheriting. Thomas's oxygen tank hissed. Harold's cookie tin rattled as his hand shook. Marion stepped away from the window, came closer. Serial killer, the detective continued. Financial serial killer. But we can only prove your case. The others are too old. Evidence destroyed. How much did he steal total? Roughly $60 million. Most of it spent or hidden so deep we'll never find it. The call ended. The room stayed quiet except for the heart monitor's rhythm. $60 million, Marion said softly. How many children? 20 typed, Squad Detective Williams had said before hanging up. That we know of. Eleanor reached for Rosalind's hand. You weren't the first, won't be the last he tried to destroy, but you're the only one who survived intact. 2 children died because of me. No. Mrs. Chen spoke from the doorway. She'd been listening. 2 children died because of him. She entered, followed by Mr. Chen. They looked different, lighter, somehow, like people who'd set down something heavy. We've been talking, Mr. Chen said, all evening, about Sarah, about Michael, about forgiveness. His wife pulled out a document. We're refusing any settlement, no money, not from you, not from Gregory's assets, not from insurance. Walter stood. You're entitled to what payment for our children? Mrs. Chen's voice stayed steady. Would $15 million bring them back? Would 30? She handed the document to Nathan. Instead, we have a proposal. Rosalind read over Nathan's shoulder. The Chens wanted to establish a foundation, the Sarah and Michael Chen Memorial Fund, for children who survived trauma, who needed help rebuilding. We want you to run it, Mrs. Chen said to Rosalind. Use Lillian's $15 million. Save other children the way she tried to save you. The heart monitor beeped. Thomas wheezed. Harold opened his cookie tin, passed it around ginger snaps today. Store-bought, but arranged with care. I need time to think, Rosalind said. Of course. Mrs. Chen touched her shoulder. We'll be at the library tomorrow. Eleanor says you have a key. 1 year later, the November air bit sharp, but 300 people stood outside the old Riverside Library, now transformed, new windows, fresh paint, assigned Lillian Moore Center for Intergenerational Connection. Rosalind stood at the podium, note cards forgotten in her pocket. She found Walter in the crowd front row, gray suit Lillian had bought him 13 years ago, the Chens beside him, Nathan next to them with his wife Emma, both working pro bono now for the foundation. Lillian Moore never met me, Rosalind began, but she saved me, not once, repeatedly, through plans made while dying, through love letters disguised as legal documents, through a gift I didn't know existed. Eleanor sat in her wheelchair, white cane across her lap, still blind, but somehow watching everything. Thomas had died 6 months ago, peaceful in his sleep. His chair remained in the library, nameplate on the back, Thomas's corner, no oxygen required. This center serves 2 purposes. First, practical elderly care for those who can't afford it. Second, harder to measure connection between generations, between those who've lived through loss and those still learning how. Harold stood near the cookie table he'd donated, watching his son Mitchell serve ginger snaps to guests, They'd reconciled 4 months ago, after Mitchell got out of rehab for the third and final time. Gregory Collins tried to destroy multiple families for money. He succeeded in destroying lives. Sarah and Michael Chen, my parents, 21 other children we've identified. Rosalind pulled out a list, read each name. The crowd stood silent through all 23. But destruction isn't the end. It's compost. It's what makes the next thing grow. Marion stepped forward from the crowd, umbrella in hand despite the clear sky. "I'd like to say something." Rosalind stepped aside. Marion had never spoken publicly before. "My husband died in Hurricane Katrina, not from the storm. Heart attack in traffic. I blamed the rain for 13 years. She opened her umbrella, bright yellow against the gray day. "This center gave me somewhere to go that wasn't about weather. It's about people who understand that grief doesn't follow patterns, doesn't fade on schedule, doesn't care if you're ready." She closed the umbrella. "But neither does healing." Walter approached the podium. He'd prepared a speech Rosalind had seen him practicing, but he left the cards in his pocket, too. "My wife, Lillian, died believing I'd fail without her. She was right. I did fail, spectacularly." He looked at Rosalind. "I failed the daughter she arranged for me to find, failed to see the gift she'd given, failed to recognize love because it didn't look like loss." He pulled out a document, which is why I'm transferring my remaining assets, about $2 million, after the lawyers finished to the foundation. And why I'm doing this. He handed the document to Rosalind, legal papers, adoption dissolution, and readoption, simultaneously, erasing Gregory's claim, replacing it with Walter's. Again, but different this time. I'm asking you to be my daughter, not because you need me, but because I need you. Because Lillian knew I would, because she was right about everything, except one thing: we don't save each other. We just choose to stay. Rosalind looked at the papers, at Walter, at the crowd of damaged, healing people. "I already am your daughter. Papers don't make family." She handed them back. "But file them anyway. Gregory needs to know he owns nothing of me." Eleanor laughed from her wheelchair. "Lillian would have loved this. The geometry of it, Phototushin at perfect angles meeting at impossible points." The ribbon cutting took 3 tries. Safety scissors weren't sharp enough for the thick ribbon Mrs. Chen had chosen. Finally, Mr. Chen produced a pocket knife, worn handle, well-maintained blade. "From before," he said simply. The ribbon fell away. The doors opened. Inside, the old library had been transformed but not erased. Original wooden floors, refinished. Reading nooks expanded into care stations. The checkout desk now a medical station, but the old date stamp remained. Displaying today's date, November 5th, Eleanor wheeled herself to the 3rd table from the door. Someone had installed a placard, "Lillian's Table, where stories begin." "She sat here pregnant," Eleanor said, "dreaming of a daughter named Rose." "And she got one," Walter said. "Just took longer than expected." 5 years later, Rosalind walked through the center at closing time, checking rooms, 4 buildings now, connected by covered walkways. The math worked out to 500 elderly served daily, 50 full-time staff, 12 satellite locations in planning. Walter taught coding in the computer lab, explaining loops and variables to 8-year-olds and 80-year-olds alike. His favorite lesson, recursive functions, how something could call itself until finding the right solution. The Chens ran the children's program. Mrs. Chen never mentioned Sarah and Michael directly, but their photos hung in her office, next to pictures of all the kids who'd come through the program. Nathan had married Emma. They adopted siblings from foster care, 2 boys who'd survived a house fire. The older one counted constantly, fingers tapping prime numbers. Rosalind taught him binary, gave him healthier patterns for his nervous energy. Eleanor had died 2 years ago, peacefully. Her last words, "Tell Rosalind the math finally balanced." Her will left everything to the center, including her secret she'd been Lillian's aunt, not friend, family watching over family, even in blindness. Gregory would die in prison, life sentence, no parole. He'd sent one letter, which Rosalind burned unread. Some words didn't deserve witnessing. Marion still came every Thursday, and when it rained, she'd started teaching umbrella painting to the children, bright colors against gray days. Harold's son, Mitchell, worked full-time now, running the donation center. He'd been sober 7 years. Still counted the days, would always count them, but the numbers meant victory now, not sentence. In the old vault room, now converted to a quiet meditation space, Rosalind found Walter. He sat where they'd discovered Lillian's phone, looking at the last photo of his wife. "She knew everything," he said. "Planned it all, not everything. She couldn't have known Eleanor would live long enough, or that the Chens would forgive instead of sue, or that I'd choose to stay. Couldn't she?" Rosalind sat beside him. The photo showed Lillian holding legal documents, dying but smiling. "She knew patterns," Rosalind said. "People who've lost everything either destroy or build. She bet on building. She bet on you. She bet on us." They sat quietly. Outside, November rain began. Marion would arrive soon. The center would fill with evening visitors. Homework help, elderly care, grief groups, healing circles. "I never thanked you," Walter said, "for forgiving me." "I never forgave you." He looked at her, startled. "I chose to love you instead. Forgiveness implies you did something wrong. You didn't. You grieved badly, loved poorly, failed at seeing, but you tried." She stood, helped him up. Trying is all anyone can ask. They walked through the center together. In the main hall, a new memorial wall displayed names of all the children Gregory had killed or displaced. 23 names in bronze, with space below for others still being discovered. At the bottom, a plaque. "In memory of those who were weapons, not warriors, who were broken, not bad, who deserve better and inspire us to be better." The rain intensified. Marion arrived, yellow umbrella bright in the gray evening. She no longer feared rain, but she still came when it fell. Habit had become choice. Fear had become fellowship. Rosalind stood at the entrance, watching people arrive for evening programs, each person carrying some invisible weight loss, trauma, mistakes, regret, but also carrying the possibility of setting it down, even if just for an hour. Her phone buzzed. Unknown number. She almost declined it, then noticed the area code. The prison. But it wasn't Gregory. "Ms. Moore, this is Warden Davidson. Gregory Collins died 20 minutes ago. Heart attack. No suspicious circumstances." She felt nothing, then everything, then nothing again. "Miss Moore, thank you for telling me." She ended the call, looked at Walter, who'd heard everything in her face. "He's gone," she said. Walter pulled her into a hug. Not father to daughter, not savior to saved, just two people who'd survived the same storm, holding on while the rain fell. Behind them, the center hummed with life, stories being read, cookies being shared, connections being made across age and loss and time. Lillian's last gift wasn't the money or the evidence or even the plan. It was this moment, these people, this proof that destruction could become foundation, that fire could warm instead of burn, that choosing to stay was its own kind of inheritance. Rosalind counted the people entering 37 so far, counted the umbrellas 12, counted the reasons to be grateful, stopped at 100, but could have continued. The rain kept falling, the people kept coming, the center kept holding them all. And in the third table from the door, second chair, where Lillian once dreamed of daughters and names and futures that would never quite match her plans, Rosalind finally understood the last equation: love plus time plus choice equals family. The math had always been that simple. That impossibly beautifully simple, connecting hearts. I need to tell you something about this story, about why I really wrote it. My mother died alone in a state-run facility while I was too proud to forgive her for choosing alcohol over me for 20 years. I counted the days since our last fight instead of counting the days we had left. When I finally went to see her, she'd forgotten my name but remembered she had a daughter who was good with numbers. She died holding my hand, counting my fingers over and over 1 through 5, then starting again. This story isn't about Rosalind or Walter or even Lillian. It's about the terrible math we do with love, subtracting when we should be adding, dividing when we should be multiplying. It's my apology to my mother. 3 years too late. Maybe it's yours too, to someone whose calls you don't return, whose forgiveness you think you don't deserve. Disclaimer. This is a work of fiction inspired by universal themes of family and forgiveness, created solely for entertainment purposes. This story does not condone, encourage, or promote any form of violence or harmful behavior. All characters and events are products of the author's imagination, and any resemblance to real people or events is purely coincidental.